So, Toronto it is, round two. So, here's the series preview. Now, we've been there, done this. By we, when I say we, I mean champs. We've been there, done this before. We've beaten Tampa twice. Now this second time we're going to play Toronto. We beat Boston twice. You get the idea. Now, of course, the Leafs are the Leafs, right? And they almost leafed, but they didn't. So are they still the Leafs if they didn't leaf? I don't think you can leaf the second round. Once you get to the second round, you have had a certain level of success in that season where I'm sure Leaf fans would be disappointed, but at the same time, you get to second, and it's like kind of almost anything can happen. Now, before the series became a thing, a lot of people were asking, who would I rather have, Toronto or Ottawa? And I would always crack the joke and say, can we play Toronto but with Ullmark? Because the difference between Stolarz and Ullmark is night and day. Is night and day in terms of especially how they performed in the playoffs. It's the little nuanced things that Ullmark's just not doing right, and Stolarz is. And now that's not to say I think Toronto's not a good team or they don't have the ability to beat us. Now I could go on about experience and all of that, and of course the Panthers do have the experience, and that showed up against Tampa, even though they've got the experience too. We've just got this eerie, quiet confidence. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to really put money against this? Do you really just look at Paul Maurice and how many times he says some crazy things or like, what? And then he turns out right. You really want to bet against that. Now, Toronto's not an easy matchup, okay? I'm not even so worried about the Nylander-Marner situation. Every team has those guys. We tend to have Barkov, Reinhart, Bennett. We've got guys that can kind of neutralize. So let's go a little bit deeper than that. Is Matthew Knies going to get a breakaway? Is he going to be a pain in the ass? Yeah. Could Pacioretty play the Nick Cousins role and move all up and down the lineup and knock people on their ass and maybe even score an occasional goal? I don't know, to win a series? I don't know if he's going to win a series, but he could be a pain in the ass. OEL, Lorentz, we already know. I mean, we wouldn't mind him on our team, I'm not going to lie. Although, I mean, Panthers defense, I'm happy with who they are now, but for the one game that Ekblad is out, if you wanted to put OEL in instead of Balinskis, I think we'd be fine. And Lorentz on the fourth line, we'd take him today. Stolarz. You're welcome, Toronto. That's all I can say. Stolarz came to the Panthers with not terrible numbers, but not great rebound control. And I don't know if it was Tallis, I don't know if it was Luongo, I don't know if it was Bobrovsky. Somebody fixed his rebound control, and since then, he has been lights out. He's just been a completely different guy since then. So that's going to be a problem. So, is Knies going to score one other breakaway? Probably. Are we going to wish Patches would lay off hitting our guys because Panthers want to stay fresh for the Eastern Conference Finals? That's sarcasm, but you get my point. And then there's Stolarz. Is he going to rob us? Right? Okay. Is he going to be a pain? Sure. The question, all those questions, I say, yeah. Sure, absolutely. The question that I get to know, the question that I ask and I get the answer is no, is Toronto capable of beating us 4 out of 7? And no disrespect to Toronto, right now, I don't know if anybody's capable of beating the Panthers 4 out of 7. Now, I didn't say it couldn't happen. I said, I don't know if. We are going to find out. But this Florida team, we did what we did against Vegas, and then last year was this whole redemption arc. And now, I mean, you guys ever walk into that neighborhood bar? You're out of town somewhere, and you really don't know the area. And you walk into the neighborhood bar, and there's 18 people, there's 28 people, there's not a whole lot of people in the bar. And you got all your various creatures and all your characters and everything like that. But then there's a one dude, you kind of look and he's over off in the corner and he's by himself. And that's the dude. That's the dude. You don't start any shit with him. If anybody starts any shit, he's going to get up and finish it. That's the guy. You automatically know. All right, I'm going to stay out of that corner. Right now, the Panthers are that dude. How long is that going to last? Don't know. Don't care. We were the dude's bitch for a long time around here, so we'll take it right now. So, in terms of what I expect from the Panthers, I don't expect anything different than what we've been getting, which is getting to halfway through the second period, maybe towards the end of the second period, looking at the score and looking at each other and say, they're not really going to try to hold this one-goal lead the rest of the game, are they? But they are. They may not do it perfectly every time, but that's the goal. It's 2-1. There's 6 minutes left in the second period. Shut it down, Paul. Shut it down. And how can you tell them no? How can you blame them? Look at what we did to Edmonton in Game 7. And that, I think, is going to be one of the bigger differences in this series is conditioning. Now, I don't know what the conditioning is for Toronto. I don't know. So I'm not saying they're poorly conditioned. What I'm saying is I think we've seen over and over again that the Panthers are the best conditioned team in the league. They can just run the 4 lines and keep the same speed, and there's not really a big disparity. You don't even know who's on the ice half the time. You can't tell by looking. Like last year, you knew when Okposo was on the ice, right? You knew when it was Lorentz and Okposo because it was like, here's these big lumbering dudes. Lorentz has a little bit more speed, but Okposo was like Jagerish, right? Now, you don't know who's on the ice. They're all just like, shoo. It's just, so, in my opinion, this team, when you take into the whole of the personnel, the depth, and the experience, this Panther team, to me, is better than last year's. So, of course, I'm picking the Panthers. I picked the Panthers to repeat in my season preview. I haven't budged off of that. I haven't budged off of that. There's been some times when I've been like, if they don't, they're not going to repeat. But I can't pick against them. I'm not betting against them. You walk into the bar, you see that dude. Right now, the Panthers are that dude. Now, eventually, the dude gets old, or maybe he gets married and moves away, and a new dude comes in, and eventually that's going to happen. Kyle and I started streaming these games. It's the 9th season of the channel. We started streaming these games the year that we went to Vegas. And this is our 3rd year of streaming, and we still haven't streamed a playoff game after the Panthers have been eliminated. That day is coming eventually. I just don't think it's coming against Toronto this time around. You want to talk about Washington, Carolina? We'll get there should we get there. Now, for the Leafs, this second time in recent history you made it to the second round. There's been all the bugaboo about can't get out of the first round, and then you got out of the first round and you met up with the Florida team that was on to doing something completely different, and now here you are again. So the question is going to be for the Leafs is, are they worried about beating Florida, or are they trying to win a cup? Because those are two very different things. Now, you have to beat Florida to win a cup, but your motivation in this series, if you're Toronto, is going to matter. Now, they have had issues, as you've seen against Ottawa, closing things out. The Panthers have had, look at what we did with Edmonton. The Panthers have had success closing some things out, but then also, right, we've had our issues too. I feel we fixed those issues against Tampa. We went into Tampa and we just buried them. It wasn't a rout. But what we buried them in is, you got a goal? We got a goal. You want another one? We got. How many goals are you going to score before you realize we're going to get one more than you, and then we're going to hold that lead, and maybe we'll get a second one after that. We just were relentless. We did not accept no as an answer. And that, I think, is going to be the difference in this series. I think Toronto just hasn't quite got to the point where they have that swagger, they have the attitude to say, we're not going to accept no. I'm not accepting no. And the dudes on the Panthers, they know. The clock is ticking, right? Clock is really ticking. This is our, is the second round considered a deep run? I don't know. That's ish. But still, this is our 3rd run in a row, however long this lasts. And you only get so many What's the saying? Who said it about boxers? You only have so many fights in you, and unfortunately, you don't know that number until the last one where you should have stopped the one before, right? You've seen it with quarterbacks, right? They stayed out 1 year too many. They were fine, and then they weren't. So the Panthers know that the clock is ticking. Bob's not getting any younger, right? And, Tampa is the perfect example that we just looked at of like a team that won and they know how to win, but they just don't quite have the body parts left and they don't quite have the same juju in the locker room. So to me, I'm picking Panthers in 6. Is Toronto going to be a pain in the ass? Yes. Is Stolarz going to make me want to puke? Probably. Is there going to be rough stuff? I don't think it's going to be as rough as some people think. I have a feeling that both teams aren't interested in it. Florida and Tampa hate each other. Okay, Florida and Tampa hate it. That was going to happen regardless. But the Leafs and Panthers, they don't have that same kind of history. Yeah, the Leafs have been a tougher team this year, no doubt, laying hits. But I don't feel like Florida will get into a tit-for-tat retaliatory thing. I think if Toronto's not careful, what Florida will do is what we did to Boston, which is let Boston make runs at us and then go score goals anyway. That's what I think Toronto needs to not do. If they have any chance in this series, they can't get into thinking they are going to match our head games. You're not. You can hit us. You can make your hits. I'm not saying that. But if you think you're going to out-Panther the Panthers, bro, we're the dude at the back of the bar. Until further notice, until somebody comes along and rips the stool out from under us, we're the dude at the back of the bar. Panthers in 6. Not going to be easy. It's not going to be pleasant. Game 6 could be overtime. Could be double overtime. But in the end, I feel Panthers moving on. Toronto, you're getting there. You're getting close if you guys keep that core together long enough. So that's it. That's it. Champs.